So in this video, I'm talking with Nathan Hirsch. Nathan started selling on Amazon way back in 2008. And then in 2015, he started a platform called FreeUp, which is for hiring virtual assistants, VAs, remote workers to work in your business. And Nathan really is the master of VAs and outsourcing. So that is what we really dive in this video. You know, what is the power of this compared to just hiring locally? How can you use remote workers to scale your business? And how he used VAs to scale up FreeUp, which he grew huge and then sold the business. Really, really impressive. So we get into that. And overall, yeah, just all things outsourcing, which is one of the keys that you really need to know to not only build a big business, but to remove yourself and really allow the freedom that you're really trying to build the business for. This is the key for that. So there's a lot in this video. I hope you get value out of it. Please do feed the algorithm by putting comments down below, smash the like button, subscribe to this channel. By the way, there will be links in the description to the things that we mentioned. So yeah, here is my conversation with Nathan. Cool, Nathan, how's it going?
Going great, man. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for coming on the channel. I'm really excited to talk to you all things outsourcing.
Yeah, it should be fun. There's nothing I like talking about more than outsourcing and scaling businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. From the outside, you just seem to be the absolute master of this. I mean, even just, setting up something like this interview, it's like VAs, and you've really got everything nailed down here. So I'm talking to the right person. So I'm excited. First thing I kind of want to get into is for people that just don't even really understand the power of VAs, what makes us different from just hiring? What is that secret magic sauce of VAs that makes it so special?
Yeah, it just gives you a lot of flexibility as a business owner. And I mean, going back 20 years ago, you had to hire people full-time in your town or the towns around you. You maybe needed an office, more overhead, and now you just have pure flexibility. I mean, when I started my new venture, Outsource School, and before I even got going, I hired a bookkeeper for 5 hours a month. So not even 5 hours a week, just 5 hours a month. She's in the Philippines. She knows you as bookkeeping. She cost me like $5 to $7 an hour, so $25 to $30 a month. And right there, I'm on top of my books from day one. It's one less thing I have to worry about. I understand my numbers, and then my next hire gets to be a 10-hour-a-week VA that works 7 to 9 a.m. I think you met her when we scheduled this podcast, and she just gives me a head start to every single day where she clears out my inbox. I get going on my most productive thing right away when I wake up. Any scheduling, any podcasting, she handles for me. We set rules, so I don't do more than one podcast a day or X amount of phone calls. And she knows, hey, I work out during this time. So it keeps me focused and productive, and it kind of shifts my hours from repetitive day-to-day tasks up until or move towards revenue generating, expansion, sales. And you can do that without committing full time. What you can do it project-based, part-time, eventually full-time. With FreeUp, we had 35 full-time VAs, but you have the flexibility to do it however you want.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it seems like you have it such that you kind of you show up to your own life. Like you have these things just happening, and it's like, oh, I'm doing this at this time. And maybe you didn't even have the mental bandwidth of remembering that because it's just kind of all laid out for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it lets you tweak and experiment with things, because I feel like too many people are in the mindset they follow some course or some guru, and it's like, this is how you do it, follow it this exact way. And we both know that that's just not how real life works. There's a certain amount of experimenting with going on podcasts and lead generation or Facebook ads or really all parts of your business, and having the flexibility of not just VAs, but also freelancers, remote agencies, remote consultants, just that ability to try different things and see what works and doesn't work for your business gives you a huge competitive advantage to someone who's just hiring everyone full-time in their town.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a huge arbitrage of price. I mean, that's definitely one of the biggest appeals that just makes it wildly enticing. And so I know you have a huge background in Amazon originally, and a lot of FreeUp started with servicing Amazon. So, and a lot of my audience is Amazon. So what do you see as kind of for those Amazon people, what are the first roles that usually get pushed onto VAs? And if you can even give maybe rough rates of what people might expect for, say, a general Amazon VA or somebody that is doing, customer service, what have you seen kind of as the most common practices?
Yeah, so as a baseline, before we jump into that, there's three different levels of people that you can hire. You got followers, you got doers, and you got experts. So followers, when I say VA, I'm talking about followers, $5 to $10 an hour, non-US. They're there to follow your system, your process. If you have a system for sourcing, if you have a system for customer service, they might have 5 years of Amazon customer service experience, but the way you do customer service is going to be different than someone else. So they're there to follow your systems, your process. Then you got the doers, the specialists. They're in that 10 to 30 range. They do the same thing every single day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, whatever it is. And they could be graphic designers, they could be photographers, they could be Amazon listers, but you're not teaching someone how to do Amazon images. They already know how to do that, but they're not consulting with you either. And then you got the high level people, the consultants. They could be $30 an hour. They could be $1,000 an hour. High level, they could be strategists, freelancers, coaches, agencies. They come in with their own systems, their own processes. You're not teaching them how to do it. They're not following your directions. And I think a key part of being an Amazon seller, because we both know that Amazon, the amount that you can learn is endless, right? You can just take courses forever and still not know everything. Plus, it's constantly changing. You have to focus on what you're good at. Are you really good at sourcing? Are you really good at writing listing? Are you really good at PPC? Figure out what your core competency is and figure out how you can become great at what you're good at. And then figure out, hey, what are the processes that I'm doing every day that I've come up with a system for that I can hire those followers in that $5 to $10 an hour range? And what are the things that I'm not good at that I just don't want to take 6 months to learn how to do, and hire experts or specialists to do the listings, to run your PPC, whatever that ends up being. So, I mean, I can give ballpark pricing if it's lower level stuff, like sourcing, you're going to be in that 5 to 7 range. If it's more higher level customer service or team leaders, it might be $1 or $2 more if you're talking about those VAs. But the higher level stuff that you don't know how to do, that can be more project based or more higher pricing.
Yeah, I think it's super important to clarify that, because a lot of people have, maybe a slightly unrealistic expectation that they could hire somebody for a few bucks an hour and just be like, grow my business, and just kind of throw them in. But it's more about, at least in even my experience with VAs, it's more about, well, actually, no, I was going to say it's more about only doing the things that I tell them exactly to do, but I've also hired for video editing or stuff that I don't know how to do. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, people at probably their first hire is more likely to be kind of on here's how we do customer service. Say this, do this, you log in here. You have to really, really lay that stuff out. And SOPs are something I'll hope to touch on later for sure if we have time. But one thing I want to definitely ask you is, what is your own hiring process, and how are you vetting people and making sure that you're getting the right VA plugged in?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm now a client of FreeUp, which is a little bit weird, but I get all my VAs and all my freelancers from FreeUp. I mean, and I got asked this question last night, actually. They're like, all right, do I go out and hire 5 people? Do I go one by one? And I can only speak for how I do it and my business partner, Connor. So we talk it out. We decide what our next hire should be. We kind of have a rough 2 to 3 month plan, but that plan is ever evolving. It's changing. Things come up that change the priorities of hire. And we usually go one at a time or divide and conquer, where he hires for his thing and he's training them, and I'm hired for my thing and I'm either training them or working with them depending on their level. So I'm really going one by one, hiring one at a time. There are situations that are exceptions to that. Like, for example, with FreeUp, customer service was blowing up around year 3 and we were really short on customer service reps. So I hired 6 customer service reps at the same time. And when you hire 6 customer service reps, you kind of assume maybe one doesn't work out, maybe you hire an extra one. But it can also lead to issues, because when we went to promote those customer service reps or make one of them a team leader or an assistant team leader, it was a little weird because they all started on the same day. It wasn't something we couldn't overcome, but those are just things you have to think about if you don't go in that order one by one. So for us, it's all about creating the SOP. I have what I call my 90-day rule, where for the first month, I'm throwing stuff against the wall, see what's working, see what's not working. By the end of that first month, I have a good idea of what's not working. Start to create that SOP, create that job posting. What does that role look like? What does a setup for that role look like? Is it part-time, full-time, flexible, fixed schedule? What are the skill sets they need? By the end of that second month, I've really fine-tuned the process. I've hired someone, and then I'm spending that third month not only training them, but giving them ownership of the task so that they can take the SOP over and keep it updated from there. And I think that's something that not a lot of people do. And that's something that really helped us when we went to sell FreeUp, because the buyers are doing their due diligence. They're saying, how does billing work? How does customer service work? And we have all these 30 to 50 page SOPs that we've slowly built over time. But Connor and I didn't just constantly make all these SOPs updated. The VAs did, and they kept them up to date at all times. And we could quickly say, hey, here's exactly how our billing process works, step by step, who does it, and it's up to date.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's a question I have. You kind of just already answered, but like obviously you were planning all of that leading up to the sale of FreeUp, which, by the way, congrats. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So did you learn even more of the value of that through the sale of it? Because you were obviously doing all this stuff, but like in the actual process of due diligence and selling, like were there any areas that you realized were you could have put more attention into, or areas that you maybe like over put attention into?
Yeah, good question. And without diving too deep into stuff that I probably can't share,
Sure.
I mean, the SOPs, I think we did very well. And it wasn't like we were planning to sell it all along. We weren't. One of our clients reached out to us to acquire us, but we built it to sell from the beginning. And very similar to what we did on Outsource School now, like we're not even close to selling it. We're 60 days, 90 days in, and we don't really have plans to sell it. But at the same time, we're building the SOPs, we're building the systems and processes, not just to make it sellable, but also so the business runs without me. And I think that's really all I heard for 4 years with FreeUp is like, why are you making yourself the face of the company? Like, you're not gonna be able to sell it if you do that. And my counter argument to that, which ended up being true, is, hey, someone else can always come in with a bigger marketing budget, a better marketing plan, a different lead plan, make someone else the face of the company. Like, that's very easy to replace and make better than what I'm doing. There's a lot of smarter people in the world than me when it comes to the lead generation side. But the systems and the processes, they ran without me. The day-to-day, the customer service, the billing, the social media. So I think building those processes were important. I think that now with future companies, I think our one lesson was, make yourself a little less of the face. I think that's something that I'll probably do on future companies, although I'm still going on podcasts and stuff like that. But I think SOP-wise and team-wise, those are the things that really helped us during the sale. I mean, we had a good structure for that we're going to carry over that same blueprint to future businesses.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, like it sounds like obviously VAs were such a huge part of growing FreeUp itself, which is really interesting because it's like also for placing VAs, and it's kind of like meta in a way, right?
Right.
So how like tactically were VAs used to grow FreeUp? Like I know you have this getting on podcasting system. Was that the core growth and VAs were a part of that, or were there other things?
No, I mean, that wasn't the core thing. That was one thing. And we have a course now called the Podcast Outreach Formula, where we lay out exactly how I do it to this day. I wake up every day to a list of podcasts to go on. But the cool thing about FreeUp, and again, one of the reasons that we were able to sell it, was that we had leads coming in from all directions. It wasn't just podcasts, and if I stop going on podcasts, no one signs up for FreeUp. It was a combination of our organic marketing strategy that was entirely backed by VAs, and that's kind of what we're working on now, is building out these courses for Outsource School on that playbook. And having an affiliate program is key. It's the baseline for everything. Every business should have it. So with FreeUp, we offered 50 cents for every hour that we billed forever to someone that you referred to us. So that was the baseline. It's on our site. We tell everyone about it. We mention it on podcasts. We mention it to partners and clients. When I taught VAs to take phone calls, they had to mention it at the end of every phone call. So that's the baseline. We talked about getting on podcasts. So no matter what business you're in, you should be getting on a podcast a week easily. Great way to get in front of thousands of your ideal customers, your businesses. If you're an Amazon seller, you can still do it. Let's say that you're selling like bar glasses or something, which is a terrible example, but you can go on podcasts and that are talk to drinkers, that talk to people that are really into making mixed drinks. Like, you can find relevant podcasts that get in front of your community. You get to network with hosts, people that are in your space. It's good for backlinks. It's good for SEO. If you have a website outside of Amazon, you can start building your own list. Then we went with partners. So we put out our own content, but we also went to Amazon software companies like Helium 10, Seller Labs, and we said, hey, you don't provide VAs and freelancers. we don't provide Amazon software. Let's partner. You blast us to your list, vice versa, guest blog posts, vice versa. And all this was organized by VAs. So every 6 months, our VA would reach out and say, hey, what do you want to do together this quarter or this half year? And we'd set something up. And you can do the same thing B2C, finding people that are in your industry that your customers look up to. And then also going after micro influencers and people that have followings of your ideal customer and using a VA to do research, to do lead generation. We're launching this course called the Lead Generation Formula that teaches you how to do that. And yeah, there's a certain amount of failure and rejection like any type of sales, but over time you start working with these micro influencers. And so it's not one thing. They all kind of go to other things. There's also a lot of networking involved, but the affiliate program could lead to a partnership. The partnership could lead to a podcast. The podcast could lead to someone checking out your content. Like it all kind of goes together, but creating that organic blueprint that only complements what you're doing on Amazon and only complements what you're doing in paid ads is really the key to growing your business long term. And all can be done with VAs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, so much of that sounds familiar to what we hear in just the Amazon seller space as well. You know, the more you're diversified across platforms, the more you're taking sales on different areas. I mean, the more valuable your business is overall. And that obviously, that same thing sort of applied to FreeUp, and even with the sale of that, and the fact that it's all powered by VAs makes it even cooler. How many VAs was FreeUp up to at the time, at the time of the sale at least, or now?
Internally, 35 full-time VAs and about 10 part-time.
Wow, that's cool. How many Nathan Hirsch VAs are there? Like on you?
Right now, I have one VA who her name's Anna. Okay. I actually did a video on it for people that want to check out me on Facebook or LinkedIn. I interviewed her so people could see what it's like in the day-to-day of working with me, which is not easy. But with the FreeUp,
I've thought of doing that.
With FreeUp,
yeah.
I pretty much took our team leaders for customer service and they would handle like my stuff. So I really had two people that were doing my scheduling and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. One thing to kind of zoom back into a detail of VAs, probably one of the main concerns I'll hear from people when I'm talking to them about VAs is kind of like that, how you establish that trust of sensitive login information, you know, seeing money, seeing bank accounts, seeing passwords, all of like that problem, or even just how you trust them to report their hours. Can you give some sort of outline on how to structure that properly?
Yeah, in my opinion, people are completely focused on the wrong thing there. If you're focused on getting overbilled by 3 hours a week, like an extra $15, instead of focused on taking your 3 hours and moving them towards sales and expansion and marketing and sales, like you're just focusing on the wrong things. And I mean, for me, my stance has always been, there's always going to be a risk, right? Like hiring is risky, being an entrepreneur is risky. There's nothing I can do to make that risk zero. But if you want to scale your business, hiring is the only way. And if you get VAs on, let's say, FreeUp, for example, they care a lot more about staying on the FreeUp platform. It's really hard to get in. They want to stay there. They want to provide for their family, and they want to keep a job with you long term. They care a lot more about that than they do about stealing your information. And 99.9% of the time, what are they even going to do with that information? They don't want to be an entrepreneur. They're not, like, if they steal your credit card, you're going to file a chargeback. Like there's things that prevent most of those things. I've never actually seen an Amazon seller get blocked by letting a VA into their account with the right user permissions. I know that's a rumor that's gone around. And I think the overbilling of hours, and this is one reason that I don't use Time Doctor or anything like that, it only takes so long before you catch it, right? Like someone can only work for me a week or two. And if I put systems in place and I have team leaders eventually and assistant team leaders, they catch it even before I catch it. So for me to look at, for me to look at like their screens every single week and add that to my schedule is just a total waste of time. You have to set up processes where they're either getting the work done or they're not getting the work done. It's very black and white. And from there, you're building the trust in the relationship.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And it's important for people to realize that most anything, you know, whether it's Seller Central on Amazon or even a bank account, most of these services are set up for user permissions where you can only let people access certain things. There's always sort of like ways to protect against that. And for me also, like with my main VA, I don't track anything. And if he's added a couple hours here and there, you know, it's still been fantastic. And what people might not even think about is that, it's not going to be like you versus them and like you're the boss and you have to like kind of try to like fight with them. It usually kind of becomes they're part of the team and they're kind of like a friend and they want to stick with it the way you said. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to do something, like most likely if they're happy with it, they're not looking to do those things. And I'm sure there's crazy cases where stuff happens, but I fully agree I think that concern is wildly overblown. So I don't track either.
Yeah, and here's a great example. What I do is we talk to the VAs, we get them to buy into the long-term vision of the company, and we make it so it's just really not worth their while to try to gyp us, to try to overbill us, to try to do that. And I mean, a perfect example is we had to fire a VA, which doesn't happen often, like a year before we sold FreeUp. When we sold FreeUp, the people that were team leaders that were making over $20 an hour, we took $500,000 from the sale and gave it to our team in the Philippines to thank them for their awesome work. And like that person who tried to steal 5 hours, it wasn't really worth it for him in the end. So, and we tell people that we're like, hey, your rate's going to go up as the business grows. We're going to increase your responsibility. The opportunities are going to increase and we're going to take care of you. And when VAs actually feel that, most of the time they're going to look at trying to scam you or trying to pull a fast one over you is just not worth it in the long run.
Yeah, 100%. It's in everyone's best interest to just make this a mutually beneficial thing. You would never think that with employees of a company in the US, like, oh, is the employee trying to steal, like, take over the company or something like that? It's usually not really a concern. So,
right.
I definitely do want to get into some of the details of what you're doing with Outsource School, but I first have like a general business question for you. So you've gone from Amazon, mega Amazon seller to then rolling that into FreeUp and then going from that experience and then starting this new project of Outsource School. So my general question is how do you make, as just you as the entrepreneur, how do you make the decision of this is the next project? This is the next phase? Like I always have a running list of all my best business ideas and things, but what makes you actually like pull the trigger on, no, like this is the new project and this is where I'm going full speed ahead now?
It's funny. I know I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs and they're like, oh, every time I see things, it's like a business and I'm like writing down all these ideas. I feel like I've had like 2 ideas ever. Like be an Amazon seller. I got it in 2008 before anyone else was doing it. I figured out drop before it was even called drop shipping. Obviously a good idea at that time. And then FreeUp was something started on the side that was an idea and that took off. And I'm on Outsource. Just because businesses I create are going to blow up, like that's just not how businesses work. So for me, I tend to very focus on one thing, and I'm a very short-term thinker. I tend to not focus on like the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan. My business partner, Connor, is much more long-term. He's doing that, but I'm much more focused on what's working, what's not working, what's the feedback, is there actually a market for this? And with FreeUp, it was something that we got it out there with less than $5,000. We didn't do a crazy game plan. We took it to market and we just tweaked and adjusted and built it. So I think for whatever reason, and call it weird, which I'm sure all entrepreneurs are weird on some level, but that's just kind of how I've gone about it. And it's a lot of conversations. Like when we sold FreeUp, Connor and I are sitting there helping with the transition for 90 days. And for the first week, they needed us a lot. The second week, they needed us less, and it decreases from there. And so we start having conversations. Hey, do we want to get into real estate? Do we want to go into a new industry? Do we want to stay into the VA space? Is there a market for Outsource School? And we eventually thought of that. And so it's all just constantly evolving conversations and decisions and tweaks.
Yeah. So it seems like you went from the sale of FreeUp clearing to pretty quickly, like, this is the next idea. Like I remember seeing the Facebook posts of like, oh, well, potentially doing Outsource School. So it's such a logical step and it makes perfect sense. I was just kind of also curious, like, how did you decide it's like that and not starting like just who knows what next? Because I'm always like, bubbling up these ideas and it's like, oh, should I just do this crazy other thing or
So Outsource School, for the example, people started reaching out to us and they said, hey, like, can you teach us how to use VAs? And so we came up with, what do we want to teach people? For us, what's important is interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing. That's the fundamentals. So we launched a course, Cracking the VA Code. And our mentality was, hey, it's going to take us 60 days to create this course. It's not like we're going to have to work 80 hours a week on it. We're going to work hard on it. We're going to make it good, but it's not going to be something that just like drives us into the ground mentally. And if we launch it and people hate it, like we just sold Free Up, we'll move on to something else. Like we'll refund everyone, make sure everyone's happy, no one's mad at us, and we move forward. And if people like it, then we can build a business off of that. So I try to focus on a lot of like low risk, high reward situations. Like with Amazon dropshipping, if I listed products on Amazon and they didn't sell for dropshipping, I didn't buy any inventory, I didn't really spend any money, low risk, high reward. Same thing with starting Free Up. Worst case scenario, I lose $5,000, a low risk, high reward. So I kind of look at Outsource School as the same thing. And we launched this course. People like it. We decided to launch these mini courses on how to hire VAs for different things. And recently we changed it into a membership. So anyone who buys our main course gets a 1-year membership and gets access to all our other courses. So you kind of have that idea, you get it out there, you see the feedback, and then you continue to tweak and evolve the business model, very similar to like what we did at Free Up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love the idea of, testing business models without crazy investment. And, a platform is a great example of that. Obviously, like personal brand, course, information, that's a great example of that. The podcasting thing is something that I probably need myself, it sounds like. And I'm hearing great things about, the core Outsource School from a lot of people. So it seems like you guys are off to an incredible start. What do people get with like the main Outsource School package if people might be interested?
Yeah, so you can buy the mini courses separately. Like if you already know VAs and you just want the podcast outreach formula, you can buy that. But if you buy Cracking the VA Code, you get 1 year of every other course that we come out with. And Connor and I are going to be rolling out courses. We have new ones coming out this week. The partnership playbook, we mentioned content partnership. So it walks you through how to run that with a VA and really everything we did. We have the lead generation formula coming out. I just started writing the scripts today of the new bookkeeping formula, that how to hire bookkeepers, which I think is really important. So we've got plans to roll out a lot of these. But we're also going to bring in top experts because there's people out there in the world that know how to hire VAs for things that I don't know how to do and Connor don't know how to do. So we're going to be bringing in experts to teach those courses as well. So for a year, you get all that content. We're not 100% sure what renewing will look like after that, although it's on us to provide enough value to make it worth renewing. You also get a year of support. If you have questions, let's say you watch how to interview a VA in our Cracking the VA course, you interview a VA, something comes up, you don't know if it's good or bad, we're there to support you. For anyone that knows me from Free Up, customer service is really my thing. We want to make it a very high level of support. And then you also get to join our community. We just hired someone to be our community experience manager. The title doesn't matter, but she's going to be building out the membership back end and make sure the customer journey's there and people have a lot of value. And I think the cool thing about being a part of Outsource School early, just like being a part of Free Up early, is we want to hear your feedback. What can we do to make this membership better? What courses can we make to add value? What can we do to make our support better? Whatever it is. So we're really excited for that.
No, that sounds awesome. You guys are clearly doing it right. And I think investing in learning about VAs and VAs themselves is one of these biggest ROI things. So I definitely think VAs and this in general is something that people should really take seriously and really learn. So yeah, I'll have a link in the description to Outsource School so people can check that out. And besides Outsource School, where else can people kind of follow along with what you're up to and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the easiest people to contact, as you know. Nathan Hirsch on Facebook and LinkedIn, Real Nate Hirsch, Instagram and Twitter. If I can help you with anything, VAs, reach out. I know this is a crazy tough time for a lot of people, so if I can help you with anything that has nothing to do with VAs, feel free to reach out. I love just networking with other entrepreneurs.
Sweet, sounds great. Well, thanks a ton for coming on. I'm sure people got a ton of value out of VAs, and hopefully they go on to Free Up and hire some VAs and check out Outsource School. So yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so hopefully you see the power in outsourcing and you got some value out of this video. Check out the links in the description. You can find Nathan's Outsource School and links to his profile so you can connect with him. Again, don't forget to smash the like button and drop a comment on this video. Those things really help with the YouTube algorithm, potentially show this video out to new people. And yeah, take care of yourself, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon.